Social anxiety is one of the most common forms of anxiety, and it affects a lot of people. But it doesn't have to hold you back. You can learn skills to combat it and become more and more comfortable in social situations. So if you're ready to release those chains of anxiety, take back control, and live a life that is in alignment with your wishes, values, and needs, this video is for you. Hi, my name is Daniela Moore, and I'm a licensed professional counselor. Anxiety is a natural human response to stress or perceived threats. It's a normal part of life, and it can even be helpful sometimes as it prepares us to deal with danger and challenges. However, when anxiety is out of order or disordered, when it's excessive, persistent, and overwhelming, it can have a significant impact in our lives, various aspects of it. Work, relationship, overall well-being. But thankfully, it is treatable. Symptoms vary from person to person, but typically they involve sweating, trembling, increased heart rate, shortness of breath, muscle tension, tingling sensations, hot flashes, dizziness, nausea, and even panic attacks, in addition to intense fear and excessive worry. Sounds familiar? Social anxiety specifically involves an intense fear of social situations or perform situations where individuals fear being judged, embarrassed, or humiliated by others. It can be triggered by meeting new people, public speaking, or simply being in a crowded space. This fear can lead to avoidance of social interactions and major distress in social settings. It's like your mind is convinced that every social interaction is a life or death situation. If this is something you struggle with, you know how lonely and isolating it can feel. Let's understand anxiety better. Anxiety is created and maintained by three different components: cognitive, behavioral, and physiological. Cognitive is a fancy way of saying thoughts or thought processes. Behaviors are actions, things that we do that other people notice, like walking or talking fast, looking away, biting your nails, or fidgeting. Things that we avoid also fall in this category of behaviors. Examples are not attending to a social event, not going to lunch with your coworkers or friends, not making eye contact. Avoidance is a natural response to anxiety. It's one way to decrease discomfort. However, avoidance not only maintains anxiety, but in the long run, it makes it worse. So if you want to overcome your anxiety, you need to face your fears and not avoid them. The physiological aspect of it is how anxiety feels in our bodies, like the symptoms we just talked about. It's normally the first component that people notice. Fear of embarrassment is a very common experience with individuals struggling with social anxiety. So fear of the physical symptoms like blushing, sweating, or stuttering can cause major distress for people when they're interacting with others. In order to overcome anxiety, we need to address these three components because they work together. But before we keep going, please like this video if it's adding value to you. And while you're at it, hit that subscribe button and don't forget to ring that bell. Going from socially anxious to social butterfly is a journey that takes time, patience, consistent effort, and a whole lot of self-love. And here's a roadmap to help you on your journey. Overcoming anxiety is a very experiential process, so gradual exposure is a fundamental aspect of treatment. Exposures address the behavioral component of anxiety, and the key word here is gradual. So start slowly and gradually exposing yourself to situations that are anxiety-provoking, scary, or difficult for you. You should expect it to be difficult and uncomfortable, but your anxiety needs to be in manageable doses so you can have a sense of achievement. When anxiety and fear are too much, we become paralyzed. So it is important to set realistic goals and start small. So instead of aiming to become the life of the party overnight, focus on gradual progress. Start with situations that are mildly anxiety-provoking, like saying hello to a neighbor or making small talk with a cashier, initiating a conversation with one new person at a social gathering, attending a social gathering for a short period of time, or joining a club with shared interests. Think of this as practicing being social, and the goal is to practice consistently until that situation or that behavior is no longer so scary or anxiety provoking. When you practice being social, it sends a message to the brain that these situations are safe to be in and that you can handle them. You also learn how unlikely it is that those worst case scenarios going through your brain will happen. As a result, your anxiety decreases in those settings. Challenge yourself to step outside of your comfort zone on a regular basis so you give yourself a fair chance of overcoming your anxiety. As you become more comfortable, gradually increase the intensity or difficulty of these experiments. And then over time, as your anxiety decreases, your confidence in your ability to handle these situations increase. Reflect and assess yourself to identify what you're struggling with socially and what you're able and willing to do to start challenging yourself. Remember to celebrate every victory along the way, whether it is making eye contact with a stranger or attending a social gathering without feeling such an intense urge to leave. To address the cognitive component, change how you think. This is what we call in therapy cognitive restructuring. Social anxiety often stems from negative thoughts and beliefs that we have about ourselves and others. Challenge these thoughts and beliefs by examining evidence for and against them. Ask yourself, is there real evidence for this thought, or am I just assuming the worst? Replace these negative thoughts with more realistic and positive ones. For example, instead of thinking, everybody's judging me, remind yourself, one, that you're assuming what people are thinking and you cannot read minds. And two, most people are too busy with themselves to put too much attention to other people, including you. I know this is not easy. I have a playlist in the description below on this topic of cognitive restructuring, so you can check out after this video and learn how to change your mindset step by step. Another powerful cognitive strategy to practice is what we call cognitive diffusion. So learn to step away from your thoughts and recognize them for what they are. They're just a thought, nothing more. When we experience a distressing thought, such as self-critical or anxious thought, we tend to become entangled or fused with them. This fusion leads us to believe that these thoughts are true or they are an accurate representation of reality. This can intensify our distress. Cognitive diffusion helps us detach from our thoughts and view them from a more objective perspective. This helps reduce the impact and influence on us. For example, instead of saying, I'm a failure, try saying, I'm having the thought that I'm a failure. Can you label the kind of thought or cognitive process going on? Is this a judgment, a worry, an assumption, or a memory? Try acknowledging that the mind produces thought as a natural process and thank your mind for its input without necessarily agreeing with or acting on every thought. This helps you change your relationship with your thoughts. Instead of being controlled by them, you can choose how to respond to them in a way that aligns with your values, goals, and needs. And just remember this, thoughts and feelings are not facts. So if you think you're acting awkward or that your face is super red because you're blushing, it's probably not the case. You're just feeling anxious. You don't have to label anxiety as bad just because it's uncomfortable. Change your language. For example, if the current script in your brain is, oh, anxiety is terrible, I can't stand this, I can't feel anxiety, then you're only left with one option, to avoid anxiety at all costs. And we just learned, avoidance not only maintains anxiety, but it intensifies it in the long run. Change that script to, I can feel this anxiety and still live my life on my terms. Over time, anxiety loses power over you, and that's how you take back control. Start acknowledging that engaging in these social situations will bring out several different emotions or physical sensations, but anxiety cannot harm you. Instead, focus on what you have to gain. What is your why for wanting to be more comfortable in social situations? What do you have to gain? Let me know in the comments. Remind yourself that you can feel your feelings and be okay, and that you can do hard things because it's worth it. Journaling can be incredibly helpful here. Write down your thoughts and feelings before and after social interactions and reflect on what went well and what you can improve on moving forward. Just changing your thoughts is not enough. Here is how the behavioral component and the cognitive component work together, and here's what I do with my clients in therapy. Before each behavior experiment, write down 1. What that behavior experiment will be. 2. What you fear or worry may happen as you do that experiment. And 3. On a scale from 0 to 100, how much do you believe that fear will happen? 0 meaning I don't believe at all it will happen, and 100 meaning I am fully convinced that this fear will happen. For example, let's say your behavior experiment is to give someone you know a compliment. Maybe on their outfit, their hairstyle, their ability to sing or play the guitar, anything. Just focus on something that they had to put some effort in accomplishing instead of something that they were born with, like their height or color of eyes. And let's say you wrote down that you worry that this person will think that you're a creep or a weirdo, and that you're 70% convinced that this fear will happen. Now it's time for you to go out there and do your experiment. Through your experience, you're going to gather objective information. What evidence do you have for and against your fear? What actually happened? How did this person react or responded to your compliment? Did your fear come true? What conclusion can you draw based on your experience? Write it all down. It is during exposures and through this process of challenging your thoughts and beliefs that you learn to attach new, more realistic beliefs to fears that you have. And over time, you become more and more comfortable in that particular situation. In order for exposures to be effective, they have to be repeated and systematic, meaning step-by-step manner. As a result, your anxiety decreases through a process called habituation. I know this all sounds very scary and intense. That's why we need to work slow and small, gradually and systematically. And just like I said in the beginning of this video, you need lots of self-love. So be patient with yourself, celebrate your progress, and embrace this journey towards greater social confidence and connection. I created a PDF worksheet for you to download so you can do your experiments and test your underlying assumptions. You can check it out in the description below. Now let's address the third component of anxiety, the physiological one. This is how anxiety feels in our bodies. Practice relaxation techniques. This can help you regulate your nervous system, reduce the physical symptoms of anxiety, and calm your mind. Notice that I didn't say that these techniques will help you get rid of your emotional experiences. Techniques such as deep breathing exercises, progressive muscle relaxation, and mindfulness practices can be effective in managing anxiety. Practice these techniques regularly, not just before or during social situations, to help you stay regulated, centered, and focused, allowing you to respond more effectively when anxiety arises. Mindfulness also allows you to make space for discomfort without feeling overwhelmed by it or wanting to get rid of it. Be willing to feel all of your emotions, especially the difficult ones. This will help you develop more tolerance and learn that you don't have to fear your anxiety. Click the YouTube card over here to learn more about mindfulness, including how to practice it. I'll put the link down in the description too. Becoming a social butterfly doesn't mean eliminating all of the feelings of anxiety and discomfort in social situations. It's about learning to manage those feelings effectively and building confidence to engage with others in a way that feels authentic to you. Anxiety is rooted in uncertainty, so click on this video over here to learn how to cope with it. And to learn more about how to change your thoughts step by step, click on this playlist over here. I will see you in the next video so we can continue to evolve more.